And now the hot seat, and here's your host, Melva Williams.
Welcome to the hot seat with Melva Williams. Today we have a very special show, and I'm here with Danny Martin, a community member here in Shreveport. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And I understand that you are a community member, but tell me a little bit about yourself and your relationship to Shreveport and what brought you to this area.
Well, nothing brought me to this area. It was much of a birthright. Born and raised here in Shreveport. Grew up in Allendale in the Jackson Heights projects. That's gone now. Now I'm residing in Cedar Grove neighborhood, and this is just my roots, and I decided after all the wrong I've done, I want to give back something positive.
Well, that's great. So you grew up in Shreveport. You've seen a lot in the area.
Done a lot.
And done a lot in the area. And so now I understand that you're a part of a group or a member called Shreveport Forward. Tell me and my viewers a little bit about what that organization is about.
Shreveport Forward is just taking the mindset of the positive aspect that Shreveport has to offer and moving it forward as far as politics, education, financial, and economic development.
So how did you get involved with a group such as that when there's so many other organizations like maybe the NAACP or other organizations that maybe have the same mission? What makes your group different?
What makes my group different is basically a bunch of young individuals around the ages of 19 to 35. And we basically took what we previously experienced in our lives and basically took it out and brought something positive back into the city.
Gotcha. So what are some of the goals and missions of the group that you look forward, to reaching and being a change agent? How does that mission going to resonate with the community?
The goal is basically to make an impact. We have a saying that I can, I will, and I must impact. It was brought by a good friend of mine by the name that I won't tell, but good friend of mine, and he started I can, I will, and I must impact. And we took that slogan and made it our goal and our mission statement.
Gotcha. So how many members are in the group, and are you taking members? How does this organization function?
The group is steadily growing. We're trying to target more young black kids that's in the inner city that has a history of violence, that has a history of drug abuse, that some of them has a history of sexual abuse. And you will rarely find that with young boys, but it's actually here in Shreveport.
Wow. And so now, we're in the hot seat. So I'm going to ask you a couple of tough questions. And one of those questions, I'm trying to get some clarity on the relationship between this organization and a Black Panther Party movement that I'm hearing about in the community. Can you explain the correlation or the relationship with that group?
Shreveport Forward is its own entity, as well as the Black Panther movement is its own entity. It's sort of growing, and it'll be coming out soon.
Okay, and what is sort of growing? Would it be the Black Panther Party?
Yes.
Okay, and so you find yourself affiliated with that organization as well?
I wouldn't say that, but I have some carnal knowledge to it.
Okay, great. And so with your knowledge that you just mentioned to it, so what is going to be the emergence of this? I mean, what should we expect? I mean, the history of the Black Panther Party for some is in some instances could be perceived as a frightening organization.
Or a terrorist group.
Sure, they've been labeled as such, but there are many in the African American community that see the Black Panther Party differently. Yeah. How do you perceive this resurgence of this group?
Well, the new Black Panther Party, which is based out in Texas, they're the Black Panther Party of self-defense. The Shreveport Black Panther Party is basically going to be the Black Panther Party of black empowerment. So we're going to mostly dictate all of our energy towards political understanding the laws, your rights, understanding the economic development within the community, where you can be educated on your own time and yourself to go out, present yourself in front of the council, present yourself in front of the mayor, present yourself in front of a board, and get things resolved in your community.
Gotcha. So I'm going to ask you, a pretty direct question. Why is it important? Why is it necessary to have a group such as that?
The Black Panther Party?
Yeah.
It's necessary because nowadays the kids don't have nothing to look forward to.
Wouldn't your other group, the Shreveport Forward, I mean, it sounds like a similar mission. Wouldn't that be, an organization that might be able to do some of those things?
It can, but the Shreveport Forward group basically has its own mission, and it's already written in stone.
And the Black Panther Party will do a different mission,
yes,
and still affiliate with young folks and the community.
Yeah.
How do you envision African Americans embracing a new Black Panther Party? Since it has kind of died down, and especially here in Shreveport, how do you think that will be perceived?
For it to actually resurface in Shreveport, because there was one prior to it, it wasn't as successful. That's why it kind of died off.
And why do you think the success wasn't there?
It was more of a militant group. The new Black Panther Party, from what I'm receiving knowledge of, is basically about empowering black people. A lot of Black Panther parties would not affiliate themselves with what they call Europeans, which is Caucasian people. But within this party, we welcome all people to a certain extent.
Is that the historic mission of the Black Panther Party?
The historic mission, what they did back then, they didn't understand political policy, because they were faced with.
So the members, am I understand? So the members, you suggest that the members of the Black Panther Party at that point, that started, the movement. I mean, with so many famous names. Your assessment is that they didn't understand the
political aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, because they was faced with so many detours within the party. You had to deal with drug addiction. You had to deal with sex. You had to deal with a high tolerance of racism. You had to deal with, informants coming within the party, or as what they call today, snitches. You just had to deal with all aspects, and they didn't have time to pay attention to mold that party right.
And so you think we'll see a change in that?
Yes.
With this new group.
From what I'm hearing.
Yeah, from what you're hearing.
Yeah.
Right. Word on the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heard it through the grapevine.
Through the grapevine. Okay. Well, you seem to have a lot of information. I appreciate you sharing that, because I know there's so many people that are curious and want to get that information. And so, are people taking applications? I mean, how can one be a part? Or
there's an application source. I haven't got any knowledge about that, but there's one. It's out there somewhere. Just Google it. It's there.
Okay, Shreveport Black Panther Party, and we can get some information about.
Yeah, they have a Facebook page as well.
Okay, got a Facebook page. Okay,
Yeah.
We'll make sure we do that, because I know that so many people are interested in, and not just maybe about becoming members, but just wanting to know how it's going to improve Shreveport. And I think that's where it appears as if most community members are focused on is improving Shreveport.
Yeah.
And I know, as we talk about improving Shreveport, in the news recently, we've heard so much, ugly racist posts. I'm looking at the Shreveport Times article, prompting, inciting possibly some violence in the Broadmoor area and different areas in Shreveport. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it sparked my attention with their comments, because they targeted Cedar Grove.
Sure.
And when they said Cedar Grove, everybody in Cedar Grove is not a gangster. Everybody in Cedar Grove is not a thug. Everybody in Cedar Grove is not a hoodlum. Everybody in Cedar Grove doesn't steal. We have families that we provide for.
Sure.
And it sparked my attention when they made those remarks. And that was the first time that I actually read a post and became upset, because I usually look at posts and just look over them.
Yeah, because so much is on Facebook.
Yeah, it's just ignorance.
But I hope that Shreveport Forward is going to be a part of being a change agent for what we can do better. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being in the hot seat with me today. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll be right back. The hot seat with Melvin Williams.
Coming up next on the Hot Seat, we discuss the controversial comments made on Facebook by residents of the Highland and Broadmoor area. Commissioner Jackson elaborates on what's going on and what's being done. We'll be right back with more Hot Seat.
The G is for gifted. The G is for genius. The G is for greatness.
I'm a G.
I'm a G.
I'm a G.
I'm a G.
Come to Grambling State University, where everybody is somebody, and be a G.
Like us and share us on social media. On Facebook at The Hot Seat with Melville Williams. On Twitter at The Hot Seat Show 1.
Since 1985, J&S Electronics has served the architects with superior electronics from transistors, resistors, and fuses. We carry HDMI cables and a wide selection of AV cables and connectors. We also have a large supply of batteries and tools to handle your projects. Need Cat 6 or CCTV systems? Call us at 318-631-8675 or come see us today at 6437 Greenwood Road.
Catch the Hot Seat with Melville Williams, where we have an opportunity to talk about politics, city events, all sorts of great things that's going on in the city of Shreveport. You don't want to miss it. The Hot Seat with me, Melville Williams, on B45.
This segment of the Hot Seat is sponsored by iKoala Radio. It's just music, baby.
Welcome back to the Hot Seat with Melville Williams. And in the Hot Seat, we have a very good friend of mine. One of my college friends, I guess I'd like to say. You know, I want to still think I'm real young, you know, but Steven Jackson, Caddo Parish Commissioner for District 3.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh,
this is really big for us to have you in the hot seat.
Yeah, I was telling my mom I was coming on today. She's happy, I'm happy.
Oh, good. Well, I know you, and so many people in Shreveport, and a lot of people in District 3 know you. But tell Shreveport about Steven Jackson, the real Steven Jackson.
Well, I'm new to the Caddo Parish Commission, elected last year. Graduate of Grambling State University. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hard-fought one. I appreciate the prayers and support. But hometown boy, grew up right here in Shreveport. Went to Woodlawn. Went off to Grambling. Was in the band. Got a band scholarship. Did the SGA and all that stuff.
Because you were SGA president.
I was SGA president, so I'm not new to politics.
Not new to politics.
You know, that can be tough
Sure
on a college campus. It
Definitely.
can get tough on a college campus. And moved back to Shreveport with the naive thought that I could come back home and work in the city that I grew up in. And got an opportunity to work at Seminary, and we worked together there as well and enjoyed it. And then got a chance to work with Mayor Glover, former mayor of Shreveport. In several different areas, government relations, economic development. I got to see the front line of local government work.
So if I can just hear a theme, you know, in listening to you and your path and its leadership. I mean, you think about, you know, being in the band. Correct. I mean, so there's a lot, you know, there's a lot in that.
A lot of structure, order, and leadership.
Exactly. Yeah. And being an SGA president and coming back working in government.
Correct.
How has that, what has been the biggest obstacle or challenge for you as a young person? I mean, there's so many viewers out there who are interested in being in politics and want to make a difference. They don't necessarily want to be in politics, but they want to be in a leadership position of service.
Well, I just encourage folks to stick it out. You get a lot of folks who show up for the first 2 or 3 meetings, and then things don't go their way, or, you know, when you're a young person at the table, most folks tend to cast you out as, oh, he's just young, or oh, he doesn't know, oh, I've been here for 20 years or 30 years or so, and they get discouraged and just walk away, throw their hands up. But you've got to stick it out. You know, the race is not given to the swift, but it's given to the one who endures to the end. And so I believe if you have a cause, if you have a goal that you're passionate about, stick with it. And we don't have that stick-to-itness that we know. And so that's my advice to young folks who want to get into, whether it's politics or whether you're trying to start a business here. See it through to the end.
See it through. Yeah, that's great advice. And I think, you know, one thing, you know, as, you know, being in this leadership role and being the vice president, am I correct?
The Caddo Commissioner, unexpected. Unexpected.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Well, I know now. I mean, you've been, there isn't a, you don't get a manual. You don't get this is what you do on the job. But I know right now there are so many issues that the commission, and I mean, these are big issues for the citizens of Shreveport. And, in the first segment earlier, we had on Mr. Martin, who's with Shreveport Forward.
Correct.
And we talked about some issues that are going on in Broadmoor. So let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me, in the words of my favorite singer, what is going on?
Well, I think you have some folks who are, you just say some copycat acts. There are some things that are going on in the country. And Shreveport is not immune. Shreveport Caddo, we're not immune to the things that are going on around the country. When we see the words that are spewing out of the mouth of folks like Donald Trump, as these people, and let's make America great again. That kind of bigotry and things that are taking place. You have folks who are trying to act that out here in Shreveport, and I'm for tolerance. I have friends who are Asian, who are Latin American, who are Caucasian, who don't agree with me, who are Republicans. I have some who are gay, straight. So we have to learn to get along here in Shreveport. We're not immune to any
and
of the issues.
And in this country.
Yeah, and in this country in general. And so the issues in Broadmoor, they're troubling. I know SPD is looking into it.
So you got to take us back. For those of us that have been under a rock, I mean, what is going on? I mean, what started all of this tension?
Well, you had some petty crimes going on, and I was in a meeting a couple of days ago, and as I told them, I said, I wish in some of my districts, the biggest issue was people stealing somebody's car. But you had probably some teens going around stealing out of folks' cars in Broadmoor.
Wow.
We don't know whether those folks those teens were black or white. We don't know.
So we have no evidence of
no evidence.
it could have been anybody.
Right, it could have been anybody. And so that led folks to just have a sort of idea of who it was or cast the blame. And when we do that, when we tend to just have these assumptions, whether you have assumption about white folks or whether you have an assumption about black folks, it creates that kind of tension that we're seeing now.
So what are some of the solutions to what's going on in Broadmoor? I mean, we kind of started to talk about the police taking some action, and I'm looking at this article, in the Shreveport Times. What are some of the solutions?
Right. Well, I would say, first, I wouldn't encourage anybody to have a direct confrontation with anyone. CLOs have been empowered. We have a police department here. Develop a relationship. I have a relationship with my community liaison officer. Get to know those folks. Don't just call them only in emergency need, but call them, when the neighbors are just arguing and keeping up. Small offenses. Let them know when you have issues, because small issues tend to become big issues. And it's only until we allow it to escalate to the point where there are threats that we want to get the police involved.
So as we talk about how this escalated, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, how does that happen in the world?
I think that's one of the worst places you can, we have a tendency to everybody can be an advocate. Everybody can be an activist. I'm sorry. Everybody can be an activist.
And an advocate.
And an advocate for a cause. We live in a hashtag society where, everybody has an opinion. And so I tend to try to temper my comments on Facebook. I'm not always politically correct, but I want to make sure that I'm not necessarily offended or blatantly offended or trying to bring on offense to anyone.
Sure, because I think in some instances you can make it worse. You get to be as I call it sometimes, a Twitter thug, and a thumb bully, and you begin to, you're sitting in the comfort of your home and with the air conditioning blowing and in your pajamas and you're.
I call it sedentary agitation, as opposed to getting up, coming down to your city council meeting and holding the mayor, the city council, the police chief accountable. We sit back, we have a tendency to sit back on Facebook and get us a trendy hashtag and tag 20, 30 folks. And next thing you know, you got 20, 30 folks upset.
Sure.
And more likely, they're not the enlightened folks carrying the message, but more power to them.
Yeah, well, more power to everybody that wants to make a difference. And let's talk about making a difference. You've done some really cool things since you've been on the council. Tell our viewers some of the things that have been most important to you
Yeah, well, one of the things that was really important to me and I was to do the Caddo Common Park. We need a venue here, multi-purpose use. We just don't have it. When you go to other cities, when you go to Dallas, Clyde Warren Park, Birmingham, they have Railroad Park. We just don't have that thing to attract us, and we need to do more to make this city a destination as opposed to this sort of retirement town where all we have are casinos and you know, gambling. We kind of get out of the whole sportsman paradise mentality. And you know, I often hear say coming into the 21st century, we got to come into the 21st century. Well, you know, we're nearly 20 years almost.
That's true.
We gotta
get a better start.
Right, we gotta
get moving.
Right, we gotta get ahead and get in there. So the other thing is, you know, some reforms that we made within the parish commission, repealing CPRs, stopping the COLA. I don't believe, you know, I'm a part-time elected official. I don't believe that individuals should be just receiving cost of living adjustments. We've done some other things. Summer workers program, we've expanded it. We're doing a gun buyback program that's going to be kicking off partnership with our DA because crime is an issue. And just a lot of things, you know, trying to get folks to think out of the box.
Right, about how to make things different.
Correct.
And better.
Correct. And using parish resources in the city limits.
Okay, well, you stay in the hot seat.
I'll,
okay, yeah, you stay right there.
I'm planning.
And we'll be right back on the hot seat with Melvin Williams. We'll be right back. Stay put. Yeah, you don't.
And later on the hot seat, is it coming or is it not? Steven Jackson talks about the future of Elio Motors in Shreveport. We'll be right back with more Hot Seat with Melvin Williams.
Like us and share us on social media. On Facebook at The Hot Seat with Melvin Williams. On Twitter at The Hot Seat Show 1.
Since 1985, J&S Electronics has served the architects with superior electronics from transistors, resistors, and fuses. We carry HDMI cables and a wide selection of AV cables and connectors. We also have a large supply of batteries and tools to handle your projects. Need Cat 6 or CCTV systems? Call us at 318-631-8675 or come see us today at 6437 Greenwood Road.
This segment of The Hot Seat is sponsored by iKoala Radio. It's just music, baby.
Welcome back to the hot seat with me, Melvin Williams, and I have my friend in the hot seat, Steven Jackson. Welcome back.
I'm back. I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still here. Don't leave. Don't leave. Well, I hope it wasn't too hot.
No, it's not.
Okay, good. Well, we talked a little bit about leadership and being a young leader. And I think one thing in Shreveport that we've seen, you know, we see a lot of seasoned, you know, and veteran leaders on our city council, on our commission. But recently, we've seen sort of an infused presence of new names and faces. Yeah. How does that happen?
Well, I think, you know, folks look around and they see, you know, 20 years of going to the poll voting for the same person, and they realize, you know, hey, I've given you a chance here. A lot of people will ask me the question, well, what's next? And I tell them, you know, if I can't be effective in my 4 years as a Caddo Parish Commission, why should I come back and ask you to do something else?
Right.
And so I think that's the thought that the new leadership brings. We bring a different perspective, a different point of view. We're trying to use technology.
Wow.
And so I think that's
how are you using technology? Because that is so important.
Right.
And you know, we talked a little bit about people being able to voice themselves and reach committee. Right. You know, I don't have time to send a letter and go to the post office and mail off about a pothole on my street. But, you know, so how have you all been using
one of the things we all of us, most of us are reaching out to our constituents via social media. I have a website. Most elected officials don't have websites. We also, I'm looking at moving our meeting times back. We meet now at 3:30. How inconvenient
for working professionals.
How inconvenient is that for someone? So I don't think we should be trying to fit our schedules around your time. We should be more accommodating. And so we're also looking at ways to make access to our information a little streamlined, open access, where you can go in, look online, and pull up files and things, as opposed to having to send a letter in saying, hey, give me this, that, and the other. It should be readily available. Baton Rouge is already doing it with OpenBR. So hopefully we can get to that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important in being connected.
And it saves money.
And it saves a lot of money.
Cost effective.
Yeah, I don't have to go spend my gas to take the mail to the post office.
Well, and it saves your government.
Sure.
It saves us money because the servers, you know, it takes us a couple $100,000 to maintain those servers when we could be using that money elsewhere.
Yeah, that's great. So tell me about some of the new things that the commission, that we can expect that the commission is working on for us as citizens.
Well, one of the things, again, is we're trying to bring a lot of the inner city commissioners. We've noticed that a lot of dollars have not been spent in the inner city neighborhoods.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, there's this mentality that was developed again some 20, 30 years ago before I was even born, where they said, well, we're not going to do this here.
Sure.
This is us, and this are you guys. And so, you know, I use the story of the raccoon where there's a dead raccoon in the street. The parish doesn't pick it up to go all the way to Vivian to go pick up a raccoon. And we were at a YPI meeting one day, and the young lady said, the moral of the story is Shreveport's raccoon is Caddo Parish's raccoon.
Oh wow, that's
because
right.
if a business, if a Fortune 500 company comes to town, they're just going to see a dead rodent in the middle of the street. They don't care who it is. So you know, those kind of things is making sure that we're effectively using resources.
Well, speaking of Fortune 500 companies, everybody wants to know about the three-wheeled car.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Do you believe in unicorn?
I've seen them on cartoons.
Okay.
And so I really want to know. I mean, what is up with Elio Motors? Is it coming? Is it not? Where does the commission stand on that?
I think the only people who believe it's going to take place are people who believe, as I said, in UFOs and unicorns.
Wow.
I'm disappointed with it.
Sure.
I do agree
So
we should have preserved the building.
Yeah, is the company have any intentions? Do you have contact with the company? Have they made contact with the commission?
You know, there's a buffer there for legal protection. There's a buffer, so we don't have direct conversations with them. But I mean, their financial information is public data,
sure.
And so you can go out there and look that they're losing stock. The folks who put the down payments down, that wasn't enough. They need a $200 million loan from the federal government, and as I understand it, the Department of Energy will not sign off on the loan. They cannot meet the safety standards. So I think it's a pipe dream that we were sold. The intentions of preserving the building was well intentioned, preserve the building. But for this company to railroad and block jobs, I think does a disservice. We could have had Land Rover here. Just imagine what a Land Rover would have done.
That would have been spectacular.
I just saw Atlanta breaking ground on the Mercedes plant.
I know. That's spectacular.
Imagine what a Range Rover would.
Okay, so in the last 30 seconds, I need to know two things. Well, one thing. I'll do one thing. It's a hot seat. Tell me about the aquarium. Do you guys have any information on it? When is it coming?
Well, that's more of a city project, and so we haven't been involved. We did fund the EAP that helped them set up their finances, and so I haven't gotten all the details on the aquarium. It's in my district, but it's one coming. It'll be an amenity to downtown.
Great.
And so I think it'll be a plus for the city and the parish.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
We should do it more.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, next week with the hot seat with them. But listen.
I'm co-hosting.
Yeah. Trying to take my job. But
oh no.
Thank you for joining the hot seat with Melvin Williams and my friend Steven Jackson of the Caddo Parish Commission. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.